Hello, Nata. This is your reading, and I am going to try to fit as much as I can in the 30 minutes. I'm going to start by reading an important part of your birth chart with considering the progressions, and I'm going to explain what it means. So, in evolutionary astrology, we start by reading the soul essence, your soul essence, and what was the deepest desire that brought you to reincarnate in this life, and is represented by the planet Pluto. And Pluto is in your birth chart in Libra in the eighth house. What that means is that it is related to the deepest issues in relationships. So, in Pluto and Libra represents a generation of a 12-year period, and every time Pluto visits a sign, it brings out all the things that are not so clear and not so beautiful about that sign. And Libra is about relationships. So Pluto brought up everything that was out of balance, and as Libra is the sign of learning balance, right? Especially in relationships, it's the learning of how to make equal give and take relationship, right? And so that generation was plagued with imbalances. That's why I was asking you about your parents. And it was in some cases it was extreme imbalances, like abuse of power within relationships, and other variations, right? But Pluto brought up everything that was not accepted or was not acceptable. Like it was the beginning of showing homosexual relationships, for example, and also taboos in relationships, other kinds of unbalanced imbalances of power in the relationships. So it was a question of equality, of equanimity, and also it was a time with a huge love for luxury and art and beauty and artistic expression. But the challenge was to learn cooperation instead of abusing the other, right? But it was a time also of obsessive relationships, compulsive power struggles, and also in some extreme cases, sexual predation. So there was all the unseen or unacceptable problems in relationship. It was that time when they came up. So it got worse when Pluto moved to Scorpio. So, anyways, you were born near the end of the transit of Pluto in Libra, and Saturn is balsamic to Pluto. That means that it was the very last phase of their cycle together, the cycle of Saturn in relationship to Pluto. So it was the time when Saturn was coming back to conjoin Pluto, and starting at the conjunction, it started a new phase, right? A new cycle. Pluto Saturn. But yours is balsamic. It means that it's in the it's obscured. It's not the energy of Saturn is not so neat because it's under the influence of Pluto, and so Pluto, it has this power of destroying things. So he brings up those undesirable things, and it's because we need to see them and destroy them. And so it's to me is the recycler of the zodiac, because it is like I imagine him as a vulture, the cleaner, the cleansing of the zodiac. It removes everything that is that is rotten, that doesn't work anymore, that it doesn't that smells bad, and and he recycles, because he also represents the death and rebirth. And oftentimes, for example, in Libra, it would represent relationships that are all or nothing, so that kind of thing. And Saturn is the structure of your consciousness in your birth chart. So any person's birth chart is the structure of the consciousness. So the structure of your consciousness was imbued with this flavor of relationships, where there could have been maybe in a past life you were abused in a relationship. It was a relationship that, and that could have shown up in the first part of your life, right? A person with whom you related was overpowering you, or there was an imbalance in that relationship, because this is the energy that you were bringing from the previous life to resolve in this life. And in fact, because it's the Pluto is squaring the nodal axis. This is the nodes of the moon, and the nodes of the moon are is said karmic, but they represent past life, and the direction, the north node of the moon represents the direction where you should go in this life, or the direction that you chose to go in order to resolve the past, right? So Saturn, as I said, is in fact the ruler of the south node, which represents your past life. And apparently, in the first part of your life, you recreated that kind of relationships that are imbalanced, that are corrupt, or that are, as I said, power struggles, where you probably felt disempowered, and but it was because you needed to repeat those in order to develop the skills in order to overcome that kind of relationships, and learn how to do it otherwise. So if you had, for example, a bad marriage, and you went through this kind of energy, dark energy, or for example, obsessions, jealousy, compulsions, and a partner that is disempowering you, is because you needed to learn this balance of Libra. You needed to learn how to conduct a relationship with equal give and take. And that will be something that if you, because you have been, it's called skip step when Pluto squares the nodal axis. It's called skip steps, and that means that you in the past or past lives, you have been going from one node of the moon to the other, meaning that you weren't successful at resolving this relationship issue. And so you kept repeating one, or either you went to one extreme or to the other extreme. And in this life, what you need is to learn how to rebalance, right? And so and I'm telling you this piece of the chart because you moved to New York, and you went through those experiences, and you went to New York to start again, right? And now you need the vision to understand what exactly is that you are working psychologically in order not to repeat the same pattern, and focus your work. Either it could be relationships with any kind of partner. It could be a business partner. It could be any kind of partner. It could be a friendship. But those people, and especially because you came to learn about relationships, every person in your life that comes to your life is because you are learning through that person this lesson. So let me tell you something else. Your south node then is in Capricorn at 22 degrees, and the north node is in Cancer at 22 degrees. And why am I smiling? And I'm going to tell you about it. So first of all, you had Saturn let me see, I don't have the date, but it was last year that you had no, yes, no, 22, no, it's this year that Saturn will conjoin your south node. The south node in Capricorn indicates that you tend to have the relationships tend to be by the rules. You have a structure way to do relationships. You abide by the rules, by the consensual, the conventions, the social conventions, and that you look for security, for safety. Let me see, I took note of those. Okay. Anyways, Capricorn is a sign that abides by the rule, and is also a step by step. It's like the goat climbing the mountain a step at a time on the rocks, but it's kind of dry. It doesn't really pay attention much to feelings or to emotions, but most pays attention more to the things, how you should do things, right? How things are done in a certain structured way. And it's also the sign, Capricorn is also the sign of the patriarchy. So meaning that you, in the first part of your life, bringing from previous life, you had a tendency to follow that structure, that the man has this role and the women this role, and it didn't work for you because you probably ended up disempowered that way. So to summarize, once Saturn crosses your south node, it will be December. I had written the dates here. Anyways, I can look them up because I had two I had two blocks of notes, and apparently I didn't bring the second one. Anyways, um, so this crossing of your south node by Saturn happens every 28 and a half years. So try to remember what happens 28 and a half years. And it was probably a major turning point in your life. And also, you at that time, you aligned with a different vision of relationships, and there was probably an important change. So 28 and a half, it was about when you were uh, 10, between 8 and 10, something like that. I'm not very good at math, so I have this system do it for me. But this year you will be uh, uh, conscious about this process. So this will be a major point in the evolution of your relationships, and so you will have a vision of what needs to end, and how what you need to do in order to really enter your maturity years, your adulthood. So. Um, so you will have to answer the questions, am I kidding myself? I am facing reality just as it is. So you will have at that point a closure of a major chapter in your life that you started in the second half of 2018, I think, because I saw the solar return chart, meaning the chart that is drawn on your birthday 2018. And it seems like according to the transits, I saw that you probably started this process with your ex-husband second half of 2018 or something like that. It might have been. Um, so the process has lasted all these months, or all the time, but it will have the closure at the end of the year. And as Saturn approaches the end degrees of Capricorn, not only will it cross the south node of the moon in your birth chart, but it will also test you. So maybe you meet a person that will test the lesson that you should have learned. Because, as I said, since Pluto is squaring the nodal axis, what you can there is a possibility for you to repeat the same things, you know. So, and I'm going to tell you what to do in order to change your focus. Let's see. Another thing is Pluto in your birth chart with Saturn. It is in your 8th house, and that house is the house of shared resources. So what that means is that in your relationships, in your marriage, because that's the 8th house is the committed relationships. It's like the difference between the bacon and eggs. The eggs participate in the breakfast, and the bacon is committed. So that's a joke of Adam Brown. Anyways, so the 8th house is where you really merge energetically, financially with a partner. So it means marriage. So, or a financial partner, business partner, where you share resources. So this could be important for you if you find or if you seek a business partner. You need to take this into account, that the lesson that you are learning this time around in this life is to have a balanced relationship that doesn't have shades, right? Nothing shady, nothing dishonest, nothing that takes away your own power. So that's very important for you. And also to take into account your feelings, your emotions. It's not about just following the rules. I know that you're a lawyer, and you're probably very attached to the rules, but it's not, life is not only the rules, right? We need to take into consideration the emotional and the sensitive part of the person. So yeah, and the other thing that the South Node is making you do is to follow restrictions and heavy obligations, and you know, climbing that mountain with a big burden on your back, and also the following the ideas or the concepts or the conditionings that your elders gave you in your home of origin or your family of origin. So and that is something, the South Node is the past. It's something that we are overcoming, not to leave behind completely, of course, because in a relationship and in any societal function or relationship, we need to follow rules, but not to the point that we sacrifice our feelings, that we sacrifice what we really want, our desires, our passions. So um, Uh, well, let's talk about the transits. The transits are the planets as they are in this moment in the sky. So the birth chart is the planets as they were when you were born. Exactly, it's a snapshot. And right now, the planets are going somewhere else. And Pluto and Saturn are transiting Capricorn, which is the the sign. Capricorn, as I said, is the sign of the social conventions, the political structures, the governmental institutions, and the hierarchy of uh, political and any kind of hierarchy. So, and I understand that the energy that we're going through right now is very familiar to you because you were born under Saturn Pluto conjunction. So for you, it's not something too much out there. It looks familiar, it feels familiar, but it's squaring your natal Pluto Saturn conjunction. So, what it means is that it's challenging or creating a tension for you to change directions. And so, with this conjunction, with the South Node, you will have a heavy, heavy, very intense, and very emotionally invested soul mining. So you will go very, very deep in the past, into the past, and study that and learn from it. And that you need to do this digging deep in order to overcome that past and and grow, right? So it is challenging. This is a big challenge for you. And Pluto, what brings with the South Node that already went through at 22 degrees Capricorn, uh, brought sudden circumstances all through end of end of 2019 through all through this year until January, when Saturn and Pluto finally conjoin. So sudden circumstances beyond your control, probably something of destructive nature, disruptive, something that made a transformation so deep and big in your life that it was like a metamorphosis, like the caterpillar becoming a butterfly. That's the symbol that is most used for Pluto. So you were forced to face the change. And this is for all of us in different areas of our life. For you, it was a sacrifice of networks of people, like-minded groups of people, also friends, right? And all of this is just based on your natal chart. So let me go through. So Saturn will conjunct your 22-degree Capricorn South node two more times, December 19, 2019 through January 19, 2020. And then it will go back in August 17, 2020 through October 4th, 2020, and then direct October, this is Pluto, pardon, Pluto, I'm talking Pluto. It will go direct again October 4th, 2020 to November 19, 2020. So those dates, you are going to kind of have a deja vu of things that you have experienced before, but it's because Pluto is relentless. Pluto won't let you in peace until you learn the lesson. So pay attention, keep a journal, and pay attention to what happens to relationships. So what else can I want to tell you is about the chart of the transits. So I have it here. Sorry if it is a little longer. There is a lot of information. This is the transits for January. Okay. So, first of all, December 26, 2019 is your birthday. And that same day, there is an eclipse at 4 degrees, 40 something. It is on top of your sun. And your moon, because your moon is conjunct, your moon is almost a new moon, right? So your natal moon is right there by the sun. So the eclipse will be on top of your moon and on top of your sun, meaning that your whole individuality, your personality will be eclipsed, or it will be affected, and something will happen that will really transform your life. Eclipses, especially on your sun, could bring a new partner. It could be changes in your life. Let me check with the New York chart. So according to the New York chart, the sun is in your second house, and the sun and the moon, the second house of own finances, your own money, the money that you make yourself. So it could affect then those areas, but it's also the sun rules the midheaven, which this eclipse can also affect your career. the direction that you go in your profession, and how you do. So this is a solar eclipse, which is a new beginning, right? It's a solar eclipse is a new moon, so you will have a new moon on top of your almost new moon natal natal new moon. um, so it's a new beginning of your new beginning. So I find this very significant. Any person that has an eclipse on their own birthday, is you will have a year of changes, transformations, big, huge things in your life. The moon rules your ninth house and your north node of the moon. And the other thing is, okay, we got 30 minutes. The other thing is that the north node of the moon is the direction where you are learning to go, and it's ruled by the moon. So it means that you should focus on nurturing yourself, developing a very caring and motherly relationship with yourself. And I think I feel inspired to say that care and that comfort that you didn't feel at home and your home of origin, you should give it to yourself. So I think the challenge for you will be to learn how to provide a cozy home for you, that is, you are nurtured, where you are hold in care and safety and protected. So you should develop this kind of environment for yourself in order to care for the inner child that is that was so rigid and so structured, and following the rules because this is what is expected of me, and didn't have the time or the conditions to take care of yourself. I know you teach yoga, and you are very caring with other people, but I think in this stage of your life, you should learn how to care for yourself, and it goes very good with your seventh house in Taurus, in the chart of New York. I mean, the relocation chart for New York, because Taurus, I see your pictures when you go to the cafe and you take pictures of the cookies or the cake that you eat, and Taurus is very occupied with the pleasures of the daily life, of the pleasures of the body. I mean, the food you eat, and the pleasure that you find in the little things of nature also, and food and comfort. So it goes very well with the seventh house. The seventh house is not only other people with whom you relate. I was saying the other day that you might have other people too slow, and that they're eating too much or things like that. Some people may be overweighted that you can encounter if they are given too much food, for example. But it's also the seventh house in Taurus for you will be the way you treat yourself, right? Paying attention to the pleasures that you need in order to enjoy life. And so, other than the eclipse, you have a lot going on with your chart, with the transits on your chart, because as I said, everything that is going on right now, the transits in Capricorn will square your Pluto, Saturn in your Libra house, that in the New York relocation chart falls in your 12, meaning the subconscious, the the house of dissolution. I would need a lot more time to explain that, but to summarize, there's no more time. So to summarize, this year on is going to be very challenging for you, but at the same time it's a time where this is a major, major, major turning point in your life with those eclipses. The other eclipse will be in Cancer, on top of your north node. The other eclipse of January 10th, 2010 will fall directly on your north node. And since you have since last year, you started to have a pretty good vision of what you needed to do. So you are on the right track. You are doing what you came to do. So just pay attention to that North Node in Cancer, ruled by this moon and Capricorn. So, and find the balance between following the rules and the conditions of society, the conditionings of society, and your personal needs for nurturance and happiness, right? So, and if you like to know more, just order a reading and I'll do it for you. Okay, but we don't have much time now. But thank you so much for being available for this reading. Very, very happy to read for you. And I wish you the best. Bye bye.